So I had a request from one of my viewers, Polar Bear Double X, looking at you. Asked me if I had any ideas for a rod holder or a rod holster, as it turns out, to hold your rod when you're creek fishing or bank fishing, and you catch a fish. This gives you something to do with your rod to free up both your hands. As soon as he asked the question, I mean, as soon as I read it, uh, I had three ideas for how to make it. And as I developed the ideas in my mind, um, I went and looked on Amazon, and actually all three of the ideas that I had almost like I had drawn them for these other companies or whatever, or they had drawn it for me or whatever. Um, they're all commercially available. So what I've done here is I chose what I felt like would be the most useful and the sturdiest one, the most durable and the sturdiest one, and made it. And I'll show you before we're done here the ones that I found that were similar to the ideas that I had that were commercially available, and you can make your own decisions whether you want to build or buy. Okay, so I kind of got a little bit ahead of myself and forgot to turn the camera on. So let me explain what I've done so far. I took a piece of thin wall 4-inch PVC pipe and I cut off, I don't know what it is, maybe 5 1/4, 5 1/2 inches of it, split it long ways, and then used a heat gun to heat the PVC and lay it out flat. Then I let it cool. So I basically made a sheet of PVC out of that little piece that I cut off. Then what I did was I laid out the basic shape that I wanted. See if you can see my pencil marks on here. I laid out the shape that I wanted of this piece. I drilled 2 holes. These are going to be the belt loops. And then this will be the support piece for the rod holder. And what I'll do, I just used a piece of scrap wood I had from something else to round off corners and stuff like that. And what I'll do is I'll heat this back up with the heat gun again, and then I'll use a knife or a pair of scissors and I'll cut this design out. And that way instead of having the ragged edges and whatnot, I'll cut it out. Then I'll sand everything down, take off the sharp edges from the PVC pipe. And then we'll start attaching the actual rod holder. Now the rod holder, I wanted to use a piece of 1 1/4 pipe. All I had was 1 1/2. So I cut off 7 1/2 inches, something like that of it. And I've laid out on here where the rod is going to go. And what I'll do with this is I'll heat it up. I'll flare this in so that it'll look just like a regular rod holder. And then I'll probably bore a couple holes and rivet this to this. So you're going to wind up with it on your belt this way. See if I can get it in frame here. And then this will be attached to it somewhere down here. So what I'm doing here is I put this out just in the middle of the floor of my shop. So I'm working on a concrete floor, and hopefully I don't burn up anything that I don't want to burn up. It's already starting to cool. It's kind of chilly this morning. It's about 48 degrees and raining right now. And I think what we're going to do is go ahead and flare the rod holder first, and then we'll worry about cutting this out. Because if I cut it out beforehand, when I flare it, it's going to spread it out. So we'll heat this up, and I'll use a bottle or something and stick down in the top of it to flare it some. First we'll need a bottle. Okay, so for the rod holder, like I said, I've got a piece of PVC, 7 or 8 inches long. And I'm just going to heat up this end of it in this area here and get it good and soft. It's going to take a little bit more to heat it up because that's about 3 times thicker than the thin wall PVC is. And then I'm going to take the bottle and shove the bottle down in the end of it and just flare this end down a little bit. I don't know if the camera picks it up or not, but you'll start seeing the PVC get kind of shiny, maybe a little wet looking. That's when it's starting to get soft enough to be pliable and be able to deform it. Starting to see a little bit of scorch on the surface. And then we'll just take our bottle and stick right in the end of it. There we go. We got a flare on it. I'll sand these edges off a little bit, smooth it out, and then we'll cut out the tab there for the stem of the reel. So I've got another little piece of scrap wood here, and what I'm going to do is heat this up and then thread that through, and then I'll clamp supports back above and below it to hold this flat. Now what we'll do after all this is said and done is we'll heat up the middle of this part, and then we'll conform it. We'll bow it a little bit so that it'll ride on your hip hopefully without digging in. And I've also go ahead and point this out now. You'll see some of these edges are a little bit cleaner than they were when we looked at it last after I cut it out. And I haven't sanded it yet, but I did whittle it down a little bit, and it's just exactly what it sounds like. Just take a knife and whittle down until I get a little bit closer to my lines. And then we'll when I sand it, we'll smooth everything out and take all the sharp edges off and clean up the contours a little bit. So let's go ahead and heat these up and get these belt loops expanded up. And then we'll slide this piece of scrap wood out. And there you go. We've got belt loops where the belt will go through without putting any unnecessary torque on the weak points of this here. And now we'll heat this whole thing up and we'll bow it like this a little bit so that it'll fit on your hip. Or we won't bow it much because if you want to wear it in the small of your back or on the other side, and different people have different size hips, so we'll just bow it a little bit and just to give it a little bit of contour. All right, let's try that. Now there are a lot of ways that you could cut this out. You could use a saw. You could probably get away with using a pair of wire cutters and cut it a little bit at a time, or you could heat the whole thing up and cut it the same way I did the base plate for this. I'm going to use a Dremel, and I've got a cutoff wheel on it, and we'll see how that works. I just chose the Dremel because when I got up and looked for something to cut it with, that was the first thing I came to. So that's what we're going to use. Meanwhile, this should be cooled now. So we'll take it back off. And you can see right there where we've got just a little bit of contour, so it'll fit on your hip a little bit better. So I've got everything sanded up, got all of the edges and corners all smoothed out, so it can't catch on anything or cut anything or hurt anything. And I was kind of looking at how I was going to put it together, and because it'll go something like that when it's done. But the thing I noticed right offhand, because the top of the rod holder is flared, I don't know if you can see flip this over and you can see it here. It leaves a gap. And so I was trying to figure out what I was going to do about that gap. And I think what I'm going to do is just heat this section of the rod holder and press it flat down on the floor and see if we can flatten out just the back of it so that it'll ride a little bit more flush. So I'm going to try that, and I'll get right back with you. Okay, so that seemed to have worked out fairly well. You can see right there where I did flatten it a little bit, and holding it up onto the piece now, it seems to sit pretty flush. So I'll figure out how high up on the body there I want to mount it, and I'll get some holes drilled and some rivets in it, and we'll see how it looks when I'm done. So there, I think maybe we're done with it now. You can see where I put some rivets in there. Actually, I put 5 of them in, and they're 3/16" rivets, so they should be strong enough to hold it and stand up to a little bit of abuse. And now we'll slip it on my belt and give it a try with the rod and see how it works. Normally, before I would show y'all this, I would take it out somewhere and test it myself, but it's, like I said earlier, it's cold and it's raining, and I'm not going fishing today, so we're going to slip it on and try it out here and see how it would work. Okay, so normally catch a fish, usually you're either holding your rod in one hand and trying to wrangle the fish with your other hand, or holding your rod under your arm. And with this, when you've got the fish in hand, the rod goes into the holster, and you've got both hands free to be able to wrangle the fish, unhook him, show him for a picture, whatever you want to do with it. And I'll show you this left-handed. Obviously, the rod would be behind me rather than out in front of me this way. And since I mentioned wearing it, the possibility of wearing it small on the back, I'll do that too, and we'll see how easy it is. I'm going to guess, since I'm right-handed, putting it right here on my right hip is going to be the easiest. But let's see. So the same thing, but left-handed now. Go step away from the wall a little bit. And the rod is over my shoulder. Again, I've got both hands free to take a picture with a fish, to unhook a fish, whatever I want to do. Or even actually just walking, going from one area to another. I've got my rod secure on my side right here. Now let's try it on the small of the back. Same thing again. I think it'd be a little bit more difficult just because it's harder to find it back there. I've got some knife sheaths that I wear small on the back. And there's that again. Rod's out of your way. And when you're ready to start fishing again, just bring it back around and start fishing. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Polar Bear XX, thank you for asking for it, and I hope it helps. I was happy to build it, and it was a useful item. Now, I'll tell y'all, If you look down in the description below this video, you'll find links to actually this item or a similar item and two more that you can get on Amazon. The one that I built, you could probably actually buy it cheaper than you could make it. And I've got maybe $10 in my build here, and you know the thing costs $10 on Amazon. So, and the other two ideas that I had were also commercially available, and I'll put links to them as well. They one was another design sort of like this one, and then one was actually using magnets with a little steel plate that goes on the back of your rod right here. And now the magnet one is a little bit more expensive. You could probably make it cheaper than you could buy it pre-made. But I mean, I don't think that I would use the magnetic one very often. It puts the rod basically up here at your chest, and the other one, like I said, it works pretty similar to the one that we made here. So I hope you enjoyed it. Looking forward to getting back out on the water and fishing as soon as it's not raining and hopefully a little bit warmer anyway. And we'll see you on the next one. Take care.